Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Now, I don't usually buy sort of single piece 12 by 12 sheets of paper, but when I saw this one, this side of the paper caught my eye first and foremost, and then when I saw the other side of the paper, I was like, okay, here we go. I like both sides, but I can see potential everywhere. Now, this one I purchased at scrapbook.com. It's by Fancy Pants Design. It was around 90 something cents for the sheet of paper. Now, you can definitely make more, way more, but I'm going to make 3 cards out of this today and show you where my brain went. So, first of all, we need to divide it up. But what I like most about this side of the paper, the butterflies, is that they are all identical. Now, this means that we have ultimate options for layers, for depth, for dimension, all sorts of fun. So I'm going to take 2 of those, make sure I've still got some gorgeous designs on the other side, so you're constantly having to check. And yes, it is hard. I find it hard to sacrifice one or the other, but I try not to look too deeply. Once I've made my decision, it's really just best to move forward and go, because if I think about it too much, I get sad about the design on the other side. Let me know if you're like that too. It is very hard, but we have to use these things, and I love both sides. And with the cards that I'm going to do today, you're going to get to see both sides, so that's okay. Now, I am going to fussy cut both of these images out, but I'm going to fussy cut them out in a couple of different ways, because we are going to make one gorgeous dimensional butterfly. Now, I looked on the back to see if I could salvage anything, but I think sadly there's not too much, but I'm going to keep that for obvious reasons. Scrap card making, here we come. But that's for another video. Now, I'm just going to fussy cut this first butterfly out like normal. I have some little Cutter Bee scissors, that's the yellow ones. I love these. I've had them for years and years and years. I've never had them sharpened or anything. They're brilliant. They just have a gorgeous little fine point on them, so any scissors with that are going to help you with your fussy cutting. The second butterfly, I cut out the body and the top layer of wings. Now, here is where I'm testing adding colour over top. Now, these are oxides, which would be different from dye inks, but I felt like it covered the design a little bit too much. I could have gone and got dye inks, but I was just testing it out on that little scrap because I've got another plan that I want to do. Now, this is the Altenew leaf clusters. I'm pretty sure this is still available, but this is one of my favourite stamp sets. This and the leaf canopy are just 2 of my most favourite stamp sets. I am going to use some Twilight Catherine Pooler dye ink, actually. Now, I have my card base here ready to go, but this grey ink is a little too dark. It stamps beautifully. I have had a lot of trouble finding a lovely grey ink that I love stamping with. I do love stamping with Catherine Pooler inks. I think they are stunning. I think they stamp very solid stamping, which I love. However, this is a darker grey than what I wanted. I just want really faded. So I'm going to use 2nd generation stamping, and some of the imperfections here I quite like. That doesn't bother me at all. I wasn't being very careful, so that is how that comes about. But I did just see that Catherine Pooler released a line of maybe 3 more greys or neutrals, I'm not sure what she calls them, and so I think I may invest in the lightest one of those. Now, here is where I'm going to get my dimension. Now, I am adding a layer of matte medium. This is just the Ranger multi-medium in the matte finish. It's actually what I use for my glue, but I just want to seal the top layer of the butterflies, because I'm actually going to use my Faber-Castell big brush markers on top of here to do some colouring is probably a bit too generous of a word, to do some shading and some a little bit like that. Now, I'm going to do both layers here. Now, big brush markers they kind of disappeared from the market and got a little bit hard to find. The permanent ones with the India ink in them. However, I see that they are coming back. They are somewhat available, a little bit tricky to track down depending on which country you are in. They now are dual-ended India ink big brush markers. So if I can, I will link them down below. But if you can't find them, then give a Google search. And as I said, it depends which country you're in, availability, all those good things. But here I'm able to smudge, because of the layer of matte medium, I'm able to sort of smudge it with my fingers before it dries permanently. And this just sort of gives it that lovely little bit of color without overtaking what the butterfly already is. Now, because I'm going to add on the second layer on top, I also want some shading there underneath those top wings. I could have left it there, but I'm actually going to bring in a brown ink here. And I just think even flat, even this one layer looks like it has so much dimension. Those wings and going around the body makes this really dimensional. I absolutely could have left this and been happy, but of course I've already got the second layer, so I am already ready to go. Now, if I hadn't have added the barrier layer in between, the matte medium, then I wouldn't be able to smudge. It would kind of go on and be permanent just as is. It is the matte medium that means that I can sort of slide it around before it dries completely. Now, we are going to keep working on this. I've got a few more bits and pieces to add. Look at that dimension. I absolutely love it, just with a little bit of ink. Now, I have my card base ready to go. This is a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. This one is going to go landscape, this card. So I pop my first layer of my butterfly down, make sure it's really well stuck down. And then for this one is called Forever in Your Heart, this gorgeous stamp set. I love this feather. I can't wait to use it. But for this one, I'm actually going to just use the sentiment that says with sympathy, because I just feel like the tones of this card would go really nicely. Don't get me wrong, I think if you did a really jazzy, bright, gorgeous background, this would look stunning as well. And as you'll see, I am going to make some bright, cheerful, and gorgeous cards with the next ones. But I'm going to do my little squiggly lines around the border to create a nice little border to frame our butterfly. Of course, I do some extra little squiggles, some extra little dots. I just use a fine liner black pen to do this. Nothing special. I think this is a 0.5, but neither here nor there. I wouldn't even have a clue. Some little dots, some little thingamajigs here and there. And then this card needs the top layer put on my butterfly. That's the last thing I'm going to do. I am going to pop them up on some foam tape, but honestly, as I said, the dimension created with the India ink is just gorgeous, so I could have left it, I think, but I'm going to add the dimension nonetheless because I've already cut it out and gone with it. So I really, really love this. I think this is just a really sweet card and was pretty easy to create all of this. Some second generation stamping on the background, some fussy cutting for the butterfly image, and a little bit of layering, and I think this card is gorgeous. Right, let's move on to the next one. So this is obviously the other side. I'm not sure if I said, but this piece of paper cardstock is called Butterfly Bouquet. Obviously, one side has bouquets and one side has butterflies, but that's okay. Now, this is stunning. I could have had 3 at least, probably card fronts on here, but I'm going to do 2 with you just to sort of, give you the gist of where I'm going, and I just am going to estimate. Now, my estimation skills are obviously terrible because when I come to cutting these with some dies, you're going to see I have a fair bit left over, but that's okay. I'm just enjoying myself and taking my rectangle Hero Arts Infinity die set, and I'm just going to cut out, I find this sort of easier to do it this way and visualize what I want inside of my frame, I guess, so to speak. Now, one is going to be slightly smaller than the other simply because I didn't want to have to run one through and then reposition it on the second one. I just wanted to do them both at the same time. Then I have this Prima. This is the confetti watercolor set, I think. I'm going for a really loose watercoloring style. Now, I am not good at this, and my brain just doesn't think this way. I'm quite a neat and tidy and organized person, I would say. I like things just so, and so painting outside of the lines, literally, is hard for me. So this is what I'm trying to do, desperately trying to do. Now, this is really just a base layer on everything. I'm putting greens, just so simple greens, and pinks for the flowers. I come in with a tiny bit of shading, a little bit just here and there, a little bit on the greens. I know you're like, oh, that's a lot of green, but I like the look of this, and I think what we're going to do to it is going to really step it up as well. Now, that was enough for my little heart to take. I'm not good at that technique, but I tried it, and I will keep trying it again. This one, I'm just simply using my finger daubers. Sometimes if I can get away with it, I won't even get out my inks. I just use whatever ink is left on the finger daubers. But for this one, I'm going to take a little brush and some Salty Ocean and just go in really close. I think this is a hydrangea as far as I know. I just add some very, very, very basic colouring, no shading except for a little bit on the hydrangea, and that's it. Then I'm going to take a couple of matting layers. I don't have a whole lot of coloured cardstock, so I generally make my own. This is picked raspberry that I've done on the left, and it is going to be salty ocean on the right. So that's the same blue that I use for the inner part of the hydrangeas. Then if you know me, you know I am about little cheats and making my life easier, and these certainly do. I love these little happy birthday rub-ons from scrapbook.com. They are just really simple and go-to, and sort of, it means I don't have to have a whole stamp set, invest in a whole stamp set, and I still have all of these gorgeous options for really quick, rub them on and we're good to go. Now I am rubbing this one onto a little bit of vellum because I didn't think this would stand out quite enough, even though it's black and sort of bold. I didn't think it would stand out quite enough if I put it directly onto the the front that we have here. So that's looking better. I wasn't sure. I thought I wanted to center it on the card, so I cut it out. I did it right in the middle and I created a strip with it, but I ended up deciding to do it sort of over to the right, centered to the right, and then I'm just going to fold the other bit around the back, cut this on a bit of an angle, and then my little hack, just so that I don't have the vellum sort of flapping around and being loose, I do put a little bit of thin double-sided tape there behind a couple of the letters, and this is going to keep it in place without being able to see the adhesive through the vellum. So I just make sure it's hidden behind the letters, and that is nice and secure. And you can definitely read it. It's nice and clear. It's not hidden. It's not lost in the busy background that we have. Then I have got some double-sided tape on the back of my card front layer, which I'll put down onto my matting layer. And then just watch how this pops. When I put this on the background of the colour, everything pops. And I even like this, even if you've done your card base the pink, but then when we put it down onto the white card base, I think it pops even more. So I was really happy with these. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing crazy and, different, but I just had such a nice time creating these. I didn't have to have the stamp for the image. It was just a sheet of paper, of which I ended up getting a minimum of 3 cards out of. And we're going to do similar to the blue one here, except this set has some sentiments that are a little more bold. And so I think that I can get away with putting these directly onto my card front. So I'm going to try the Hi Friend, and these go onto, by the way, rub-ons go onto everything. They go onto vellum, they go onto glass, plastic, paper. Try them on lots. It works. Now it goes over top of all of the paint, it goes over top of the print, everything just fine. And I think this stands out really well. Obviously it's very bold, but yeah, I think it does fine. Then I pop it onto this blue layer, and I think this just makes it pop. I'm loving the bright matting layer. As per usual, I will leave links to any of the products that I've used in today's video down below this video. I will also leave a link to the Buy Me a Coffee in case you would like to support my channel. I've had a lot of emails recently asking about it. It's just a way to donate to help support the channel, to help support the free videos that I produce and pop on YouTube 3 times a week. So I just leave that link down below. I also have my snail mail address in case you would love to write me or send me a card. I love seeing your cards. Speaking of, my Facebook group is the best way that you can show me your cards and your makes that were inspired by these videos, and that group is called Come Crafting with Natasha. Of course, the link is down below too. Let me know which card of these is your favorite, and I'll see you in the next video.